What's up, movie buffs? I'm Jeremy, the pop culture nihilist, and I appreciate you stopping by my YouTube channel. It's been a little while since I've uploaded a video, but I saw a film called Talk to Me last night, and ironically, I wanted to talk to you about it. This movie premiered at a film festival way back in October of 2022. Here we are in the last week of July, and it just now got a wide theatrical release thanks to a little film studio called A24. This movie is the directorial debut of Danny and Michael Philippou. So while this is officially their directorial debut, they've been honing their skills in the world of YouTube for many, many years. But don't let the YouTube filmmakers thing throw you, because everything about this movie seems very polished. It's just cool to see people from the YouTube space cross over into the mainstream in such a substantial and significant way. In Talk to Me, Mia, played by Sophie Wilde, is dealing with the fallout and the emotional effect of losing her mother recently. This has caused a strain between her and her father, who she believes might be hiding something about what actually happened the night that her mother died. And this has caused her to essentially spend all of her time with her best friend, Jade, played by Alexandra Jensen, her mother, Sue, played by Miranda Otto, who you might recognize from Return of the King, and Jade's younger brother, Riley, played by Joe Bird. One night, the three of them decide they have to go attend this party because they've been seeing posts on social media in which groups of friends are seemingly being possessed by this ceramic hand. Strangely, Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb refer to this hand as an embalmed hand, but I didn't get that impression. But anyways, the hand is seemingly possessing this group of friends. They kind of think it's a hoax, so they want to go investigate. And when you make contact with this hand, supposedly it unlocks the world of spirits in which you can let the spirits into you as a vessel. Mia and the rest of the group kind of get hooked on the thrill of this new hand, and when you know it, that has dire consequences. The brothers Philippou knew that they had to hook audiences immediately, and they do so with this one shot, one long take of a guy showing up to a party and kind of walking through looking for his brother. And this scene ends with a shocking moment of violence that I don't think anybody saw coming, but it really sets this uneasy tone over the things that follow. And from that opening scene, I knew I was in for something special. Like, I haven't felt that way watching a movie since back in 2018 when I saw Hereditary in theaters for the first time. And that's pretty fucking high praise. The tone of this movie is like Sam Raimi by way of Ari Aster. It's also contemporary in the way that Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was, but it doesn't quite feel as try-hard. Social media plays a factor in this movie, but it's not used as a gimmick. I heard only like 8% of Australian movies even recoup their budget, which I think is a damn shame, especially after seeing movies like Wolf Creek, Snowtown, Animal Kingdom, and earlier this week I saw a movie called Sissy. And if Sissy and Talk to Me have taught me one thing, it's that if you see a dying kangaroo in the road, you're gonna have a bad time. The cast is exceptional. Like, every single performance in this movie is really strong. Even like secondary characters that there might not be that much on the page, the actors make them distinct, and they feel like more than just pawns set on the board to fall eventually. Like, you get to have a little bit of investment in each and every one of them, which makes the events that happen feel more significant and more meaningful. The standout being Sophie Wilde. She's the girl that you've seen in the majority of the trailers, and she's really able to show a range here. I mean, everything from being really funny to being really devastated emotionally to being completely terrifying when she's under the spell of this hand. Like, she's really good, and I suspect we're gonna see her in a lot more things coming up soon. And when it comes to the tones in general, the movie's able to balance all of these elements without ever sacrificing the tension, the turning of the screw that's just getting more and more tight This is seriously one of the scariest movies that I've seen that doesn't have sharks in it. Like when the spirits inhabit the characters and their eyes kind of black over and their mannerisms change, it's really creepy. Equally effective is some of the more showy practical effects where we see what these spirits look like now that they're in the afterlife or whatever. And there's something about that hand, like it's instantly iconic. And there are elements in this movie that seem familiar, but that's just such a simple and unique idea that I think it works so well. Across the board, the technical elements of this movie really work. From sound design to, as I said, performances, lighting, etc. All of this stuff is just done seamlessly. That one shot in the beginning just shows like, okay, these filmmakers have a really tight and firm understanding about the process of filmmaking. One of the things that I like about it is that it keeps with that contemporary tone. And it's not like these characters live in a creaky old haunted house or something like that. Like things are modern, but it's shot in such a way that it still has that like almost oppressive tone to it, whether it be the spaces that they're occupying or just simply the way that they're captured within the frame. Yeah, it's just all around effective. I honestly don't have too many critiques about it. I guess I could say it's a lot of things that we've seen before, but like, what isn't? You know what I mean? Like we've seen pretty much everything before at this point, especially in each different genre, but I think this does horror very, very well. What I really like about this movie is that it doesn't hold your hand and try to explain everything and essentially rob the movie of any mystique. Like we get hints at its backstory, but it's never spelt out explicitly. I mean, to the point that I see it as a ceramic hand, somebody sees it as an embalmed hand, and I'm not even sure which of those is accurate. I just know that it serves its purpose really well, and that's both in the literal, like what's on the page in the text, as well as what's in the subtext of the movie, which is something that I kind of want to dive into. So let's talk about some of the movie's themes. Are you tired of horror movies about grief? I know I am. It seems like we get one of those for every exorcism movie ever since the release of like The Babadook or something in 2015. But the truth is that horror is a really good medium for exploring people's inner demons using outer demons, right? Like you get literal demons to explore the conflict that's going on within the characters themselves. And, you know, dealing with grief and struggling with loss is something that's very real to many people. So it instantly makes you empathize with the character as well as understand what kind of drives them to behave in some of the strange ways that they do. So Talk to Me is another movie about a character struggling to cope with grief brought on by the loss of her mother, set against an overt anti-drug campaign that again places the horror genre firmly in the camp of being one of the most conservative genres of film on this side of Sounds of Freedom. And I say that only half joking. Early in the movie, little Riley's friend offers him a cigarette and he says, no, doesn't that cause cancer? Like the long-term consequences are enough to stop him from smoking that cigarette. Yet, lo and behold, just a little bit later in the movie, everyone's succumbing to the peer pressure of actually letting a spirit within their body, which seems like it could have short-term consequences that are much more dire than taking a pull off a cigarette. But hey, what do I know? Other than this is going to inevitably lead to some really terrible things happening. So when they go to this house party, which is after the other house party where this person ends up killing themselves, everybody is passing around this ceramic hand like it's a whippet. There's a temporary escapism. It's almost treated like a high, like a euphoric high. And Mia, who is struggling to cope with this grief, she really takes to it and maybe takes it a little bit further than the rest of them just due to the situations outside of her control. And that, to me, kind of feels like the story of substance abuse, right? Like a lot of people may do drugs and alcohol or whippets, like I mentioned, as like a recreational escape kind of thing, and then other people are using it to like literally escape from the things that they're struggling to deal with. And And in a way, that's kind of what we see with Mia. These parties, they kind of reminded me of being a teenager and how uncomfortable that experience can be at some times, and how, like, if not for the booze and for the drugs, I'd look around the room and be like, what would I even be connecting with these people over? And Mia's kind of portrayed as an awkward outsider, and you can really feel her desire to just connect with someone. And that's what makes the expressions "talk to me" and "I let you in" just seem even more loaded with symbolism, right? Like, what lengths will people go to just to feel seen by peers or family members? And I think people will do a lot of self-destructive things to just feel like they're a part of something, so that someone will talk to them. To me, the concept seems like people who choose the easy route of substances as opposed to confronting head-on the issues that they're actually dealing with can lead them down a very destructive path. But hey, you don't have to take it that way. You can take it for what it is, which is a really effective horror movie, or you can dive a layer beneath and either like or dislike the message, but the movie's not preachy. And it's completely possible that I've interpreted it wrong. That's just kind of my takeaway based on my own personal experiences and the way that the film relates to me. So in summary, and again, Talk to Me is the best horror movie I've seen in quite a while. As of right now, I'd say it's the best movie I've seen in the last 5 years, and that's saying a lot because I watch a lot of horror movies. And I've talked to friends that weren't as enthusiastic about it as I am, and reading the critical response, it seems like critics are like really on fire about it. So what I would recommend is just going in with regular expectations. Just pretend you're going to see another horror movie and watch the trailers before this film, and then contrast those trailers with the movie that you actually watch, and tell me that there isn't something special about Talk to Me. I'm not going to tell you you're going to love it in the same way that I did, but if you're a genre fan, this is a must watch, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I think it's amazing that the filmmakers, the Philippou brothers, went from the world of making short fan films on YouTube to having a full-length feature that's getting so much critical praise. I imagine it's already in that 8% of Australian movies to recoup their budget and then some, and I have a feeling that positive word of mouth is going to continue to propel this movie forward, and hopefully this review has inspired you to go and watch it if you haven't seen it yet. Because, hey, if nothing else, I'm out here to just share my love of movies with you, and this is one that I loved. So on a scale of 1 to 5, I am giving Talk to Me a 4 out of 5. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, click that thumbs up button. It really helps out in the algorithm, and if you want to stay up to date with even more content, click the subscribe button followed by the bell to enable notifications. I've got a Patreon page you can check out down in the description below. I will provide a link. Also, check out Lucid Memory or Wrestling is Terrible. I've got all sorts of projects in the works, so if you want to check those out, you can find the links for those as well. Thank you, I'm Jeremy, and until next time, be terrible.